Well, let's turn now to metastatic disease. So people who have been diagnosed with metastases, we're going to actually ask the same question that we asked initially for adjuvant therapy for the earlier stage disease. Heinz, I'm coming back to you again, and does your answer change? So you have a patient come in with metastatic disease, previously untreated. What do you have to test for? And what could you test for, and what are the sprinkles on the sundae that you'd want for maybe clinical trials in the future?
I like sprinkles.
Sprinkles are good, yeah?
I think the minimum based when you look at the treatment implication has to be RAS and BRAF and MSI. I think there is an increasing motion to include HER2 testing for ongoing clinical trials, at least in the US. But here I use the whole NGS panel. And here I think it may be very important, not so much for the decision of the first line treatments, but for subsequent treatments, it may be very helpful depending on your target and the access to clinical trials. So I try to do as much I can. My sprinkles is whole genome sequencing in all of them. And it sounds completely out of control, because we are doing that in a research project, but the first data I got back was incredible because mutations are missed. Mutations, the sensitivity and deepness of sequence is different, and that is actually on the germline and on the tumor. So I made already treatment decisions based on the whole genome, which I didn't see in the NGS. So I think I wouldn't recommend to do that, but what I'm saying is you asked for the sprinkles. These are my sprinkles.
That is the sprinkles. Back to reality in Europe. Dirk, what's your absolute necessity and then sprinkles?
No, I think there's no difference. There's no difference. So clearly, we and of note, we implemented RAS testing across Europe much earlier than it was established in the United States. We do test and we do recommend BRAF testing also in the ESMO guidelines. And of course, MSI has gone up the testing, although we have differences in access to, let's say, checkpoint inhibitors. As you know, that MSI high patients may be receiving treatment easily in the United States, whereas in Europe, it's simply not available and it's not registered, despite the fact that patients may be MSI high, at least at the moment being. Hopefully it will change quite early.
Do you check for HER2?
We do check for HER2, but I would say we try to limit this a bit. It's generally not done in the first line setting. It's mainly done in RAS wild type patients. It's mainly done in left-sided. So we say we have some clinical molecular characteristics which enhance the likelihood that patients may be, let's say, a candidate for HER2 amplification or whatever. But in these patients which underwent treatment, then it's very often done.
So, Zev, your vote?
No, I agree. We do reflex testing. So if start with RAS and MSI. If it's RAS mutated, we stop there. Don't do the HER2. And if it's RAS wild type, then it reflexes to do HER2 and a couple of the other things. We also have an internal panel that runs 30 genes. I do like Heinz's sprinkles though. Sometimes I will. We should start a franchise, Heinz's Sprinkles.
Heinz's Sprinkles.
The patients we share all get whole genome. Okay? But I wanted to.
But the NGS is. I mean, I can't tell you I do it on every patient. We do now on more patients than we ever used to, simply because of the interest and the availability of clinical trials. But I can't say it's routine on every patient, obviously.
But also, I think what we're coming down to is the value of tissue. Right? So if you have a patient that's been diagnosed with metastatic disease, maybe based on liver core biopsies, you have a certain amount of tissue that you have available. And so preserving that tissue. So for instance, we talked a little bit, Heinz, about with the next generation sequencing, you're usually able to get microsatellite instability, expanded RAS and BRAF. The HER2 in some panels and some panels not.
I think they all adjust. I tell you in a very short period of time, they all will have it.